Hello, my name is Torres, and my group is with Molly Lambert and Annika Ochs. And our case study is titled A Young Black Woman's Experience in a Historically White Sorority by Leslie Somerset and Molly A. Mistretta. To begin our presentation, we would like to highlight some of the higher education environments that are in the case study, along with the culture and the students. So this case study is set in Ellington University, which is a predominantly white institution. Because it's a predominantly white institution with mostly white students being on the campus, there are initiatives that were started by the university, such as the advanced program. The advanced program is something that Aaliyah, the main character, is involved in. And the advanced program is really a mentoring initiative for underrepresented students to make sure that they're able to navigate the college process and the transition in a healthy way. One theory that came to mind when talking about this was the Strange and Banning's environmental theory from 2001. One quote that we thought really fit in with this case study is, quote, "The degree of fit between an individual and his or her surroundings creates a person-environment congruence. This predicts an individual's attraction toward, stability in, and satisfaction with a given environment." Because this college campus deals with a few different sororities, Aaliyah is constantly feeling torn between her sorority sisters, who are mostly white, and her Black friends in the other predominantly Black fraternities and sororities. And within this theory, it explores the various levels of fitting into her environment. Aaliyah doesn't always feel like her sorority sisters are supportive of her, and the overall beliefs of the sorority group are impacting Aaliyah's feelings within Delta Nu.
So the developmental issues regarding this case study are centered around our student Aaliyah. As noted, that she is a current student, a mentor for the Black Student Advanced Program, and then a Panhellenic sorority woman. So all of these kind of different identities that she has and roles that she plays on her college campus has really caused her to almost kind of have this identity development almost crisis. And it is kind of fueled by these different comments and questions that she gets by her fellow sorority sisters, but then also her friends. She makes comment that as her friends continue to question her Blackness, and as she continues to experience these uncomfortable moments where she is on the receiving end of racist comments, she really starts to question her own identity and her own Black identity. So she's struggling with her Black identity development, and we would like to note like two different theories when discussing this. So the multiple identity development, it states that at the center of multiple dimensions of identity is a core sense of self. Furthermore, that externally defined singular social group membership surrounds the core and influences the core. So Jones and McHugh in 2000 cited that multiple identity development, and I think it plays a major role with Aaliyah here, as she does have these singular social group memberships, as her sorority is predominantly white, but she also has memberships in Advanced, which is predominantly Black student focused. Also, with the Potsdam biracial identity development from 1990, though Aaliyah is not a biracial student herself, she has this biracial identity as she comes from a biracial family, a very diverse neighborhood, and ultimately grew up with a biracial and diverse childhood and adolescence that got her to this stage. This identity development talks about 5 different stages. Specifically with Aaliyah, she entered stage 1, where she had an identity independent of an ethnic background. So she makes a comment that she never really considered race to be a part of her identity. But now we're starting to see her in stage 3, where she has denial, confusion, and guilt over having maybe chosen one ethnicity or culture over the other, and is feeling self-hate towards that.
So along with developmental issues, Aaliyah also experienced some organization and leadership problems as well. So specifically with the Director of Office for Leadership and Greek Affairs, Charlotte, her communication as a student affairs administrator with Aaliyah tended to be a little almost insensitive, or definitely insensitive. She mentioned in a direct quote to Aaliyah, the girl drama that happens when you're around a group of women all the time can be a lot and can cause us to make impulsive decisions whenever Aaliyah is talking about dropping her predominantly white sorority. So we also chose two theories that kind of connected with this problem. So the first one would be Bloom's taxonomy of learning from 1956. So it's a model used for advising students and supervising staff. So specifically, Charlotte lacks development in the affective or emotional response domain. Part of these would be, receiving phenomena, the awareness and willingness to hear Aaliyah, and then the selected attention to what Aaliyah was bringing to her. Also, valuing the worth or value a person attaches to a particular object or phenomenon/behavior. This ranges from simple acceptance to the more complex state of commitment. Valuing is based on the internalization of a set of specified values, while clues to these values are expressed in the learner's overt behavior and often identifiable. So this would be when Aaliyah was bringing those issues to Charlotte, and Charlotte just wasn't really accepting the fact that Aaliyah wanted to drop it because of the identity issues that she was experiencing. Another one would be organization. So organizes values into priorities by contrasting different values, resolving conflicts between them, and creating a unique value system. The emphasis of comparing, relating and synthesizing those values. The second theory that we chose is Perry's scheme of intellectual and ethical development from 1970. So through this theory, it focuses on how students learn in the classroom through 9 cognitive positions. So we chose 2 of those positions that specifically applied. It can be applied here to how students learn from their other experiences and environments on college campuses and view authority. So we chose the first position because it explains how a student views authorities as having all of the right answers. So Aaliyah went to the director of Greek Affairs because she wanted to express her thoughts that she was feeling, or emotions that she was feeling with her identity development. And she thought that maybe not Charlotte would have all the right answers, but that Maya would, because she was also identified, as a multiracial authority. Second one that we chose was the fourth position. Students may also start to notice how professors, typically authority figures, grade them on their thoughts and opinions and not necessarily on the aspects of having the right answers. So this would lean more towards Charlotte and how she was kind of almost judging Aaliyah's thoughts and feelings about dropping the sorority, or the issues that she was experiencing within that sorority.
One of the biggest legal and ethical issues that came up within the case study is the drinking policy that was probably in violation with the fraternity party on campus. There were a lot of details missing from this aspect, but we did notice that there were a couple of students, especially Teddy, who were heavily drinking that night, and this led to a possible Title IX case with sexual harassment. Within the story, we see Teddy, who is drunk, and he starts to basically harass Aaliyah, and he says, quote, "We can get out of here and go back to my apartment. I bet we can have a lot of fun together." In this incident, Teddy also touches Aaliyah's arm and her hair, and Title IX definitely comes into play with this. We also began to think a little bit more about current events, possibly fitting into this case study, and one of those current events is COVID-19. With everything happening with social distancing and requiring the students to wear face masks, we were thinking about this when this party did happen on campus. So this might be a possible COVID-19 violation. The last ethical issue is Charlotte's insensitivity to Aaliyah. We felt that it was very unethical of Charlotte to basically not being able to listen to Aaliyah and her concerns. Charlotte basically just brushed off Aaliyah's concerns as girl drama, and this was not helpful to Aaliyah.
So this case is very rooted in diversity issues, especially systematic racism. We see this on different levels, the first one being a PWI, so with the institution and the university itself being a predominantly white populated one, both with faculty, staff, and students. That is the effects of systematic racism in admissions. Then you also see this on an organizational level with the Panhellenic, IFC, and NPHC organizations. Each of these Greek letter groups or councils have been historically affiliated with race. NPHC was created out of the systematic racism of the Panhellenic and IFC foundations, or their histories of membership. However, though this is no longer the case and those memberships are non-discriminatory as of history kind of playing a part, the effects of those foundations are still felt and seen in the membership population today. And that is why Aaliyah feels so kind of out of place as being one of the few Black women in her predominantly white organization. We also see this on a faculty staff level when the college president asked Aaliyah's chapter president how diverse is their organization, and her chapter president comes back and says, oh, well, we have 2 Black girls in the sorority now, and one is on the executive board, almost making it sound as if a Black woman cannot hold an executive position. There's also the issue of ethnocentricity in this case. It's a very through very subtle ways of us versus them comments. So L, which is Aaliyah's big, says, I think it's cool that you're friends with them, in references to the Black fraternity men. Her fellow Black students make multiple comments about why they think her Panhellenic membership is odd. Her friend Layla from the advanced program calls her the poster child for her predominantly white sorority and asks her if she's even a real Black girl anymore. And then Chris, who is part of an NPHC fraternity or a Black fraternity, says you should come back to our side and quit your sorority. We also see the intersectionality with discrimination, specifically with gender and race. And we see this in the microaggressions that we hear from Teddy, comments like him saying, quotes, I've never been with a Black girl before, you're not like the Black girls from home, or is this your real hair? And then the comments from Layla, again, are you a real Black girl anymore? She makes this in reference to how Aaliyah has worn matching outfits as her sorority sisters. So the fact that what she wears makes her who her race or her gender. So
some other issues that we kind of talked about as a group were offices that were not involved in this case study, but that should have been. So the first office was the Multicultural Diversity and Inclusion Office. We thought that, it's not Aaliyah's responsibility to educate her sorority sisters about, diversity and inclusion. So if that office could become involved and maybe give a presentation to the fraternities and sororities on Ellington's campus, that would be a great way for them to start being educated on D&I. The second office that we thought should have been involved was a counseling center, and not because of Aaliyah's race or her ethnicity, but because of the situations that she experienced with the possible, Title IX situation with Teddy. She mentioned how she felt uncomfortable with what he said to her about coming back to his place, and also about how he put his arm around her and almost wouldn't let her go. So that can be a traumatizing situation for anyone. So we thought that if the counseling center, was available, that would also be helpful. And also with dealing with a potential identity crisis almost, that, that can be very overwhelming for a person, very, mentally taxing. So if the offices were available to Aaliyah, those could get involved.
Overall, our group felt that the multiple identity development theory was a theory that was definitely prominent in this case study. The sense of Aaliyah's core self has come into play in so many different aspects of this case study, not only in relation to herself, but also in relation to the students around her. We see her constantly grappling with her identity as being a part of this sorority that's predominantly white, but also trying to interact and maintain a relationship with her Black friends in the predominantly Black FSL organizations. In order to respond to this case study, we think that there should be more concrete support in the Office for Student Leadership and Greek Affairs. We believe that there should be more of an intentional hiring practice for professionals in fraternity and sorority life at Ellington University. We want to make sure that these employees are able to demonstrate a commitment to understanding students of marginalized identities in FSL. Also, we believe that there should be hiring of graduate assistants who are able to do this as well, but mostly we want to focus on our professional staff members who are able to stay at the university for a longer time within the department. And lastly, we would like to add some professional development events along or involving diversity and inclusion for not only the predominantly Black FSL organizations, but for all FSL organizations at Ellington overall. We think that this could definitely help issues like this case study from happening again. And those are our references. Thank you very much for watching.